All right, so today we are going to be doing an unboxing and a test run of the Source by ExtractCraft. Now, essentially what this thing is, I've actually had one of these for the past year or so since they first came out. This is the upgraded model right here. This is the Source Turbo. There are a couple new additions made to it. It basically extracts a lot faster and has a bunch of different altitude settings as well as a number of other things. But basically this is it right here. So we're going to be using this to make some essential oil. And the cool thing about this unit right here is it's actually Bluetooth controlled, so you can control everything through your smartphone. So I've got my smartphone here. We'll be using that, and I'll show you all the levels and everything there. You can set vacuum and temperature as well through that app. Now, as you can see here, it can be used to extract a number of things, anything from herbs to basil, any plant material. You can do mushrooms using like truffles, things like that. You can make truffle oil, any type of mushroom oil. You can even do rose petals. Here's just a few different options that they've listed here, but there's a number of things you can do. All right, so we have unboxed the Source by ExtractCraft, and we're just gonna go ahead and assemble this unit. But the first thing you're going to want to do before you actually use this is inside of the glass alcohol collector globe, there's going to be two pieces of paper that you'll see. So I just pulled these out. This yellow piece is very important. It's going to show you how to set your altitude. And that's important for a number of reasons. The number one being that this thing has a vacuum in it and it's going to get the pressure correct. So what we're going to do to set that, and directions are right here on this yellow piece of paper, we're just going to go ahead and once we plug the unit in, we're going to hold this green button down for 10 seconds. It's going to flash 10 times. Let's see here. There we go. And once that stops flashing, we're just going to press it according to our altitude. So we're here in Colorado, we're about 5280, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that should blink, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're set to 5,000 feet. So we confirmed and we are good to go. So the base is ready for us to use. This is the button that turns it on and off. And then we've got the little vacuum nozzle right here. And then this is the heating post that the crucible will screw to. So first thing we're gonna do is take this glass globe, and we're gonna go ahead and set that right here on the base. You're going to want to make sure that this little rubber grommet thing is firmly in, or basically set up correctly here. Now what this globe does is essentially once the alcohol is poured into the crucible, it'll start to evaporate, and this will reclaim about 95% of the alcohol that you're using to extract whatever oil you are trying to pull out of whatever plant material you're using. So we've got that right here. That's all seated firm. We've got the crucible right here, and this has basically a little thread on the bottom of it. This is the one that most of the units come with, or that all the units come with. There is an upgraded crucible right here, and this one holds 20% more. This will be available starting June 1st as an upgrade. And like I said, it does hold 20% more, so you can do more during each batch. But we're going to use the standard crucible for this one. So this crucible, just going to go ahead and screw right onto the heating post. Make sure that you do not over tighten it. So basically get it barely finger tight. So once you see any resistance, like once it stops spinning, you're done. You don't want to over tighten it because you will damage the crucible. Then we've got the lid right here. Now this is thick glass right there, and then we've got a nice rubber seal. This rubber seal will sit firmly right there, or fit pretty snugly right there, and that will allow us to get that vacuum pressure. Now then we have the ice container for the top. Basically we just fill this with ice when we're doing this whole process, and that's going to cool the top and allow the alcohol to condense as it evaporates, and it'll speed up the whole process. So this is the whole unit assembled. One other thing you're going to need is, and you actually don't have to have it, but it's pretty cool, is to get the Source Bluetooth app. I believe it's ExtractCraft is what it's called. Just get that, you get the app, in the App Store. And this gives you, it's basically a monitoring app. So you can see exactly what your vacuum pressure and your temperature and how much time is left. So pretty cool to have. We just got that here. And now we're going to go ahead and do the wash and get our first run going. All right, now that we've got the machine set up and calibrated for our altitude, it's time for us to do our first wash with the plant material that we've got here. And you can see it's very frozen right now because we've had this in the freezer. You're definitely going to want to freeze your plant material depending on what you're using. Just helps with the extraction process and it helps minimize leakage of things besides the oils you want to pull out. Here we have 95% ethanol. This has also been in the freezer. It's extremely cold. So we're going to do a 3-minute wash with this. And all we're going to do is take off the lid of our mason jar here. And I'm just going to dump this alcohol into this right here. So let's go ahead and do that carefully. We're just going to cover everything here. It's extremely cold. Here comes some air bubbles up here. And then we'll just go ahead and cap this and just make sure everything gets coated. I am gonna set this for 3 minutes on my timer. I'm going to hit start because we are doing that 3-minute wash. So we've got a 3-minute stopwatch. And we're just gonna go ahead and let this sit nice and cold and extract and do its process, or do its thing. So give that a little bit. There we go. Now, once we're done, washing this, what's going to happen is we're going to take this and we're going to strain all of the plant material out through some type of colander or a coffee filter. We'll collect it all in this cup right here. And then from there, we're going to be running it through these coffee filters to make sure we pull out any of the fine particles that may have got through. That way we're left with just the tincture of the alcohol. So we'll go ahead and let that sit for its 3 minutes and we'll be right back. All right, so it has been 3 minutes and now it's time for us to strain this plant material out. So I'm just gonna take this little coffee filter. It fits perfectly over the mason jar that I have, so that's awesome. And we're just gonna go ahead and do a quick flip and drain all of this out. And you can see it's kind of a nice golden color. That is good. We have got the oils that we wanted out of the plants out. So let's go ahead and finish straining this off. And there's definitely a little bit of plant material floating in here still, just from the agitation. We're gonna go ahead and let this strain off, and that is why we're gonna run it through our coffee filters afterwards. So let's just let this finish up. This filter actually works really well because we are able to keep it all in the jar and not make a mess. Now it's time for us to basically take these coffee filters that we have. I just put some elastic around them to hold them here. And we're just gonna go ahead and take this tincture that we've made and pour it through these coffee filters and just let that pull out all of the extra plant material. So we've got 2 cups to make this process go a little bit faster for us. But this is a really important step because you don't want any plant material floating around. Now, if you want and you have access to a Buchner funnel or a Buchner funnel, you can actually use one of those to get a better filtration process going. But for now, we're just going to be using these coffee filters. Usually when I do it with coffee filters, I'll run it through a second strain as well and just run these through some fresh coffee filters just to make sure that there's nothing left in it except for the alcohol and the oils. So now that we have ran our tincture through a couple of different coffee filters and made sure that there's absolutely no plant material still floating around in it, it's time for us to transfer this tincture into our crucible. I do recommend washing this before each use because you can contaminate your batches if you don't. So we'll go ahead and just transfer this into here. And this is about halfway full from this 1 cup. And we're gonna be doing basically half a crucible full with this run. And then we can continue to do it with the rest of, or extract the oils from the rest of this right after this batch is done. So we're just going to very carefully screw this crucible in, making sure we don't spill anything. And like I mentioned earlier, making sure we don't over tighten it. So this is just going to get basically finger tight, and we're screwing it onto the heating post, which is actually going to heat it up. And once it's under vacuum, it's going to all start to evaporate. So you've got it barely tight there. We're going to go ahead and take the lid, drop that down. Make sure that the vacuum screw is screwed in nice and tight. It doesn't have to be super tight, just nice and snug. And when you do take this out, just don't take it out. But when you do unscrew it, just give it a couple unscrews, and I'll actually show you how to do that in a little bit here. So now we are going to start the actual, or start up the source and start this whole extraction process under vacuum and heat. So all we're gonna do is just press and hold this green button for 4 seconds. Let it go, it should blink twice. And now the vacuum is gonna kick on. So while that whole vacuum process was going on and the air was being evacuated out of this, I was actually able to monitor the vacuum level on the Source app, which is really cool. And that'll actually tell you temperature as well. So once that's done and the vacuum turns off, you're just gonna go ahead and check. Just give it a slight pickup, don't shake it or anything, but pick it up, make sure, and you can see that there is a lot of vacuum pressure in there. Now, if we look at it from the top, you can actually see this has started to boil as well. And that's because it's under vacuum. And right now, our current temperature is starting to heat up, but it's sitting at 71 degrees. So what's happening here is once this is under vacuum pressure, the crucible is being heated up anywhere from 100 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit, and the alcohol inside is boiling off. Now we're gonna take this ice container that came with it, and we're gonna go ahead and set that right on top. Now that's going to cool the glass on the top so that when the alcohol evaporates, it can condense quicker, and then because this machine is slightly tilted back, everything will roll to the back of the machine and drop down into, or basically into this glass container right here. And we'll be able to reclaim 95% of the alcohol that we put in here, and what will be left in the crucible is the essential oil that we are extracting. So we're just gonna go ahead and let this do its thing until everything is evaporated off. So now we have basically evaporated just about all of the alcohol off, and we're left with basically oil or essential oil from whatever we were extracting. So I'm just going to take this lid off. Be careful not to let anything that condensed on the top drip into the crucible. And we're just going to unscrew this crucible real quick here. So as you can see, we've got some decently viscous oil. It's definitely going to thicken up, so we want to get it out of the crucible before it hardens up. This crucible is still a bit warm. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this mat we've got here, make sure that's clean, and we'll just go ahead and dump this out. And you can see we're left with some really nice oil right here. We'll just kind of let this drain a little bit more. Ideally use a spatula, kind of scrape the rest of this out. You can actually take all of this oil and reduce it a little bit further. And what we would be able to do here is take this, put it in something like a silicone cupcake cup, maybe one of these, anything silicone basically that will fit inside of the crucible. Scrape this up and condense it a little bit more, and you can put it in here, run it one more cycle, and it'll really turn it into a lot more, not quite as gooey. But right now we have the oil, which we can use for anything from tinctures to cooking to, continuing to process it down a little bit further and end up with a little bit more thicker and more handleable material, if you will. So right here what we have, this is actually from the second wash that we did, and you can see how green this is. Basically what we did is we took all of the alcohol that we were able to collect, which comes back into the glass container right here. So you can actually see all of this you can reclaim and use it later. So we'll go ahead and dump that out. Careful not to spill, we're just about at the limit there. There we go. So as you can see, this reclaims about 95% of the alcohol that we used for extraction. So Going forward, we can just take this, dump it back into the bottle, and use it again. So that's one of the awesome benefits of using this machine is you don't waste, you waste hardly anything with it. And some of it is soaked up into the plant material that you use, which you can then strain off and use for things like tinctures, cooking, you name it. You can use it, you use this, but it has a little bit of chlorophyll leak, as you can see. It's a little bit more green, and you will end up with a much darker oil at the end. So that's why we did the brief 3-minute wash with this. Now, I do want to mention we also only ran that first little bit. We had that other cup, which we're actually going to run in the second cycle here. And that will yield, that was actually a little more than this, so we should end up pulling a little bit more than that. So the yields are pretty decent as well. So from here, you can basically take this and do whatever you'd like with it. I think we're going to go ahead and take this and turn it into a tincture, and we will be creating a couple more videos on what exactly you can do with all of your oil once you're done processing it. So that's it. For more info, go to ExtractCraft.com. This unit again is called The Source, and it's great for making any type of essential oil out of any type of plant material. So that's it for me. Bye for now.